When you start your career, you jump around. Maybe you have a band for 2 years and then you jump onto the next project, and you do that for a few times, and then you end up in a so-called super band or whatever, coming out of nowhere, but you have all this experience. And we never had that. We just, Imminence is our band, and we grew through that and learned everything by staying together.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Keefy, back once again with another interview. I'm super excited to talk to Eddie from Imminence from Sweden. How are you doing today?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I followed the band, like I said, offline for quite a while, but we've never actually gotten together for an interview. So shout out to Adam Splitter PR for putting us together. Always my favorites, just the best in the world. But yeah, man, you have a new album, The Black, coming out soon. This interview will probably run after, but really excited to talk about this killer album. I feel like every band says my new record is the best because you're supposed to, but I actually think this is your best record. Personally, I know people latch on to the first thing they ever heard from the band and that stays their favorite, but I think I think the old fans will appreciate this one, and you're going to get a lot of new fans from this. It's a very strong record.
I appreciate to hear that. Yeah. It's like you say, you kind of, that's the way you're supposed to feel when you think that your new record is the greatest work you've put out. But we genuinely feel this for The Black.
I've had like 1,000 of these interviews over like 15 years, and I had one person and one band ever say it's not our best record, and I would never say that. Like, I was like, let's say 1.5 technically. Like, let's say Thomas Gabriel Fisher of all the legendary extreme metal bands, Celtic Frost and Triptychon, he was like, no, I mean, like, I would never say this is gonna top. He's like, I'm always trying to top the last thing I did. This is not our best. And then I think Matt Harvey of Exhumed, if you want to go more death metal, he was like, nah, I mean, this is a good record, but not our best. I was like, amazing,
well,
amazing.
Appreciate the honesty, right?
Yeah, you need the self-awareness. If you can have self-awareness, and especially extreme metal, we take ourselves a little too seriously sometimes. I know you are probably like fun guys that make music that's important and serious to you, but you're probably like, and let's face it, your Scandinavian brethren, you're much more chill than we're very uptight metal fans in America, very in our feelings. A lot of this at the back of the room, not cool. Not cool. Just have fun. Life is a joke, and death is the punchline, to quote an artist I like. So The Black, man, what a strong record. And I feel like let's just educate our fans. You're new to our fans, even though we followed the band for a long time. What's kind of the how did the band form? What's the origin story of the band? How did you guys get together to get like over 10 years as a band now, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, we actually started Imminence in 2010, so we were like 14 years in the making. It all started with me and Harold meeting in high school, basically, getting into music, getting into heavy music, and we started, rocking out in the basement, playing cover songs, and just enjoying rock and heavy music. And a few years later, we ended up starting this, which would become Imminence.
Right on. A lot, and then you managed to stay together. I'm also fond of saying it's the music business, not the music friendship. But if you can have your friends, if you can make music with your friends and the friendship stays intact, that's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of bands, you kind of, when you start your career, you jump around. Maybe you have a band for 2 years and then you jump onto the next project, and you do that for a few times, and then you end up in a so-called super band or whatever, coming out of nowhere, but you have all this experience. And we never had that. Imminence is our band, and we grew through that and learned everything by staying together.
Right on. I love that, one of the calling cards of the band is this diversity, but somehow it makes sense. And I know, it's probably like a thing for every young person starting out in music in Sweden to look at the greats, right? You have some of the best bands of all time across a lot of genres, and maybe even some underrated. I think like there's some great Swedish hardcore that doesn't get talked about enough and things like that. And of course, pop and dance music is like, if it's crazy here, it's crazier there for sure, in a smaller country. But I feel like it's a nice blend of different types of styles, but they all make sense together. I hear different things, but if you had to nail it down for you personally or the band in general, who would you say are the band's top influences?
I mean, when we started Imminence, me and Harold, our favorite band in the whole world was In Flames. And we came kind of from that. We all had a little bit of different influences, and I would say In Flames was the common denominator. But at that time, I was a bit into new metal and post metal. Harold had more, classic metal influences, and we both got into metalcore. At the same time, our drummer had a background in, punk and hardcore, and our other guitarist had, some more classic rock, but also like classic metal, if you would say, like Lamb of God and bands like that. So we had a lot of different influences, metal oriented influences starting out.
Right on. You have a phenomenal voice, not just a great voice for heavy music, but I love your singing voice. It's actually like I'm so not
Thank
surprised
you.
not. Of course, everybody is influenced by In Flames. I think their debut album just turned like their debut release just turned 30, which makes me feel really old because I remember when those first few records came out that everybody talks about. But you have a fabulous singing voice, and you do a lot of different things with it. It's not just like I'm soft and then I'm growly and then I'm soft again. It's not like that. You have a really good ear for melody, and I love what you do vocally. Humongous choruses, interesting parts, and I hear a lot of also. I think people who are fans. You said new metal. I think Chino of Deftones. I think other vocalists in the genre, even like some more modern things like Sleep Token, are coming. I think people who like those bands will love your band if they don't know them already.
Yeah, thank you. But I was actually never influenced by that type of music. Like, I wish I was like everyone else who says, I love Deftones, but I never really got into their music. But I mean, massive respect. They're a great band, but it's just one of those things. I grew up listening to a lot of different music, and when we got a little bit so-called older after coming out of school and everything, I started to go into a bit more different genres, like listening more to some indie music, or some country music or pop music, whatever. And just I feel like that's a place where I got a lot of influences from, like how to write melodies and how to approach my clean voice in a new way.
I love it. We all should do that. Let's cultivate that queen voice. The clean vocals are everything. Super good. Good job there. Thanks for that answer. Also, lyrically, I find like a lot of inspiration in these. Listening to the record back a few times and just trying not to be too interpretive, but not all. I'm like, I wonder, what I think a song is about. Like Desolation or Death by a Thousand Cuts seem to be very emotional and personal. But do you come from a personal place lyrically, or are you more of a storyteller and you're interpreting kind of situations and scenarios?
I basically write almost everything from a personal perspective. And our record is a lot about dealing with depression and dark thoughts, and going into that darkness. But I like to write my lyrics in a way that they can be interpreted by the listener, and that you can apply your own meaning to what it means.
Right on. That's important too. And I know a couple of artists have said, like, if I specifically say this song is about this, it might ruin it for somebody else that thinks it's something else. So that's always a
Yeah.
good approach too. And again, I really appreciate the songwriting. I don't know if there's songs that you bring in personally or the band writes the music first, but what's that creative process like? How the band works?
It's we're a duo writing the songs, so it's me and Harold. And I mean, it can vary from track to track, but typically it would look like Harold starts working on an instrumental foundation with guitars, bass, and drums. Bring it to me, and we workshop the song. We take a look at some lyrics that I wrote down and start playing around with melodies, and basically create the song. And when we were done with that, having laid the foundation, I would then I sit and work on like the arrangement, the strings, the synths or the samples, whatever, to kind of complete it. And simultaneously, he would start working on the next track, basically.
Right on. And I see that you're not afraid of longer songs and long albums.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of bands at a certain point they don't edit themselves. Like everything is good, throw it out into the world. But I like it, it sounds like over the years you and Harold have cultivated this song writing style, and I like that it's a deep album. There were no
Mm,
skips. I obviously I listen to something if I'm going to chat with somebody or write a review. I listen multiple times, but I also like I ask myself, is this a song I would skip? That's my process.
yeah.
So I like that it was like a very good album all the way through. It was good on repeat. It holds up. I like whole albums. I don't like singles, and
Yeah.
I don't want a collection of songs that don't sound like they go together. I like so I
Yeah.
appreciate that. It sounds like you're also big music fans of that same like album listening experience too.
Absolutely. Like I'm a massive album fan. I rarely listen to music without it being like an album back to back. And yeah, it's really important for us. And I think that for the Black, we kind of let we let ourselves be free in the creative process. We didn't look at the stopwatch when we were writing the songs. And some of the songs just felt natural. They needed to be that long in order to make sense. And we weren't really looking for, what would people think of this? Is it too long for the listener today? We try to just exclude every thought like that when we were creating something.
Fair enough. We still kind of have radio in America, and we have obviously satellite radio like Sirius XM and Liquid Metal and things like that, which your band can get on. But I don't know that European metal bands even think about writing a short song to get heard more. I think they just people write songs. I think maybe here a little more commercial bands think maybe let's make a shorter song and see if it gets picked
Mm.
up because playlists and things like that. But I mean, like that's so arbitrary and far flung, and I think along a certain length of time, metal bands don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Absolutely.
We don't care. We don't care. And like, not that it's not important because it is. And we get those emails too, charted in this many countries and played on this and played on that, and that's cool. It helps. Every little bit helps. In
Yeah.
terms of, I know you guys are from the coast and not like one of the big marquee cities. Do you have like a local scene where the band was able to play together, or is it just kind of built it by yourself?
I mean, when we started out, there was a little bit of a local scene, I would say. We're the grew up around or outside the third largest city in Sweden, but it saying it's the third largest is still like a very small town if you look at America. And there was some places you could play, and we were a few bands, got together sometimes and put up shows. But after a few years, it felt like that local scene kind of died out here. It felt like people weren't interested in going to those kind of shows anymore. And you would even see like bigger bands struggling. I'm not talking about arena size band, but a solid club band, American bands, European bands, whatever. We went to a lot of these shows in Malmö, and when we were coming up, and it just felt like it got less and less. Like people, it was hard. The scene was dying here, and so we took our sights elsewhere and went down to Europe, went down to Germany, and all over the place doing DIY tours. And that kind of worked out for us, and we built a reputation there, built a momentum, and just kept building on that. And but it was always hard for us to kind of return to Sweden, and it's only in the last couple of years that we've started to try to build something here again.
All right, right on. Good to know. Thanks for unpacking that. Just personal preference. Do you prefer a smaller club, a bigger theater, or a music festival to perform?
In terms of fan engagement, I think a club is always the best. That's when you're the closest to your fan base. I mean, festivals can be all good and fun as well, of course, but you're usually exposed to a large portion that is not your crowd, and it definitely gives you a different feeling. We've also done these kind of very special acoustic shows with a string quartet in churches throughout Germany, and I have to say that was something very, very special as well.
I would love to hear some of this new material reinterpreted that way. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. yeah, we're thinking about doing that.
Right on. Just for a last thing, I want to give you back your evening. You're very kind to chat with us after you've had a very long day of press. I'm always fascinated, like what's the spark in somebody that makes them want to do this? So, as a singer or a musician, what was the first song you ever heard that made you want to actually make music or sing?
Oh wow. I don't know if I have just one song. But one of the bands that really got me into heavier music was Linkin Park. And I got their album Hybrid Theory on a CD back in the days. And I was just playing that all the time, and I loved to sing along to it. Same with the In Flames records like Come Clarity. And that kind of got me interested in singing because I felt like I was not really a good singer, but it made me kind of happy. And when we got into actually creating our own music, there was something magical about it, and I couldn't stop. And it's just been, this constant like pull towards it. Like I don't know how to stop. It makes me feel great. It makes me happy, and it's what I want to do. And I've known that for at least 15 years that this is what I want to do.
Right on. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing all that. Eddie Berg of Imminence. The Black is coming out on Believe music label really soon. And congratulations on this record and all your success. And I look forward to seeing you guys, either us getting to cover you over in Europe with our crew there, or if you get over to the States again, we'd love to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, really looking forward to doing another US headline tour this spring, coming back again. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.